4 daughters. He said, what you gonna do when they start getting grown and looking like their mama? That's funny to me. That's just funny to me. But I get it. I get what he was saying. I get what he was saying. Why? Because you start to look more like it's funny. And then when you've had relationship, so it's levels. And I'm gonna go beyond just looking like. I'm gonna go when you've had intimate relationship with that parent. Not only do you grow and be looking like them, you start acting like them. You start talking like them. Man, I'm 45 years old, and I say something the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm my daddy. I heard him say it all these years, and in different ways, I'm like, I'm gonna be like my daddy. Other ways, like, I ain't doing that. Now I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I talk like my daddy. I sound like my daddy. Like, it was something the other day. I said it so cavalier. It just came out. Somebody needed something or whatever, and I said this. This is like an old man phrase. Are you ready? But I live by it. This gonna bless you too, all right? I said, better to have and not need than need and not have it. And I was like, oh, snap, I sound like my daddy. You know, all that means is take it with you. Because it's better to not need it, but you have it. But then you don't have it, but you need it. So take it with you. You know, I was like, oh, man, I sound like my daddy. Why? Because there's been this relationship. So when I say that when we've accepted Christ and we're walking this close, intimate relationship with him, the more we will look like him, the more we will sound like him, the more we will walk like him, the more we will live like him. Why? So that the world may come to know him. But we don't have to add to him. We don't have to make him a little more attractive. Because let me tell you something, there is no rival. There is no alternative. It's not like the battle between Coke and Pepsi. You know, somebody in here, you might think Coke is the greatest, and somebody else might think Pepsi is the greatest. You know, and then you throw in a monkey wrench, Dr. Pepper. I like to call Dr. Pepper like barbecue Coke. Now that I say that, you're going to know what I mean next time you drink it. There's no rival. It's not like Nike and Adidas. There's no rival. There's nobody on his level. This is why he starts off like he does when he speaks of Jesus Christ and God the Father who raised him from the dead. He's speaking. He's like, look, I want you to talk about, I'm talking about the one who's conquered death. Now, any takers, who can do that? Who can do that? Who else is stepping forward to say, I am the greatest? And we're not talking about GOAT conversations, whether it's LeBron and Michael Jordan, or now they didn't. You know, you got, women's basketball, Caitlin Clark, baseball, is Shohei Ohtani the greatest, Babe Ruth, no. Like, then we start debating stats. Okay, Jesus got one stat. He conquered death. Any takers? Any takers? Can anybody else bring up? Then the grave. Jesus went in the grave and came out the grave just like he said he would. And when he said he would. You want to know how I knew it was a miracle? It was so ludicrous for him to talk like that the disciples that walked with him for 3 years, they weren't at the tomb waiting on him to get up on the third day. And if you say, oh, what about the ladies that came there? You know what they came there for? Mary Magdalene, and the other ladies, they came to anoint the dead body so it wouldn't stink. They weren't believing he was going to get up. That's the kind of miracle we're talking about. We're talking about, this is ridiculous. And he says, I'm going to let them kill me and I'm going to get up. And he got up. It was so big that we have a letter written by his half-brother James, who when we read in John, he didn't believe Jesus was Messiah. He mocked Jesus. He like, my big brother crazy. When Jesus got up out that grave, he became leader of the Jerusalem church and he laid down his life for Jesus as Lord. Why? Because he got up out that grave. There's no takers. There's no rival. So when it comes to the message of Jesus Christ, we don't need to sweeten him up. We don't need to make him more palatable. We don't need to add anything to him because the whole thing is about God's plan of salvation to the entire world. We read this Bible, we're looking at salvation history. We're looking at God's story and how he's progressively moving to prove he's faithful and to prove he is God so that you trust him. So there is no alternative message. There isn't something that needs to be added or even taken away. And that's something that's prevalent in our culture today because people like to take bits and pieces from the Word of God that fit their preferences. I like this. I don't like that. We're not going to talk that. We're going to rearrange that. We're going to say that. Nah, that ain't for now. And they build alternatives. Why? To make it a little more palatable. But there is no rival. And I know we got quote unquote options. You know, like I had somebody once ask me, they said, well, you know, I know, he's like, you know, I believe in God. He said, I believe in God, but like, what makes what you say about God, you know, any better or more true than what somebody else says about God? And I said, okay, that's a fair question. That's a fair question. Let's look at something like logically, right? There's something in logic called the law of non-contradiction. Sometimes you may see it, law of contradiction. What that really is saying is this. Something cannot be and not be at the same time. Meaning, it can't be true that God exists and also true that God does not exist at the same time.